A group of friends, a dream New Year's trip to the mountains. What could possibly go wrong? Well, according to this absolutely chilling first-person account, just about everything. So let's dive into this story of a holiday that turned into a desperate fight for survival against something they couldn't even see.
This right here, this is the first warning the narrator, a guy named Rohan, received. And get this, it came from a voice out of thin air in an empty, fog-filled roadside washroom. And believe me, that was only the beginning. You know how these stories always begin. A group of super close friends, all excited for a getaway to the beautiful, secluded hills of Gibby. The plan was perfect. But before they even packed their bags, there was this feeling that something was deeply, deeply wrong. All right, so let's meet the crew. We've got 9 school teachers from Delhi. A fun mix of 3 couples and 3 singles, all great friends. Our narrator is Rohan, a sports teacher, and the 2 friends you really need to remember are Diksha and Riddhi. They've booked this amazing wooden house to celebrate New Year's 2025. It's supposed to be the trip of a lifetime.
And here's where we get the first real red flag. Just a few days after booking everything, Rohan gets incredibly sick, like can't get out of bed sick. He said it felt like something was physically holding him down, trying to stop him from going. But, he doesn't want to be the guy who ruins the New Year's trip for everyone, so he pushes through the illness and gets himself to the bus station.
So the moment Rohan steps onto that bus, his sickness just vanishes, gone. But that feeling of being stopped, it gets replaced by something way more sinister. The journey itself becomes this series of terrifying warnings.
Okay, so this is where that quote from the beginning comes into play. It's late, around 11 p.m., and they stop for a break. Rohan goes to the washroom. He says he felt this presence, like a huge person was standing right behind him. But he looks, and there's nobody there. Then a voice, crystal clear, just says, "Don't go there. It's dangerous." He spins around, totally alone.
Now, just try to imagine your friend saying this to you. You've been gone for maybe 10 minutes, and she's looking at you like she's seen a ghost. How is that even possible? This single sentence is the moment things go from a creepy feeling to something undeniably real and terrifying.
This stop. This is the point of no return. The bus driver, a local who drives this route every day, literally tells them this is a bad place to stop. But they're young, they insist, so the whole group gets off in this super dense, dark forest to, answer nature's call. And that simple act, right there, seems to have been a massive mistake.
So they get back on the bus, and not even 5 minutes later, Diksha's entire personality changes. An older woman on the bus had complained about them being loud earlier. Now, Diksha just gets up, walks right over to her, and stares at her. Just stares, with this menacing look. Her friends are confused, kind of thinking she's just messing around or about to start a silly argument.
But as she turns to go back to her seat, she just collapses, violently. She hits the floor of the bus, clawing at her own throat, gasping for air like she's being strangled. The party vibe on that bus just evaporates into pure panic.
And this is the part that gives you chills. This is the physical proof. After she can finally breathe again, she shows them her neck. And there are 4 distinct red finger marks, like someone with an incredibly strong grip had been choking her. For Rohan, this was it. The voice in the washroom, all of it, it was real.
So, when they finally make it to Gibby, things just go from bizarre to completely unbelievable. Rohan heads up to their wooden house to get settled. Now, just look at these 2 timelines playing out at the same time. His friends see him come back almost instantly, completely ignore them, run to the edge of the road, and leap into a ravine. But the real Rohan, he was up at the house the whole time. They watched a doppelganger of their friend try to kill himself.
They're all completely shaken, trying to make sense of what just happened. They all go into this isolated wooden house they rented, but they quickly realized they weren't alone. Whatever they angered back on that dark road, it had followed them. And now, they were trapped with it.
The nights there were just a nightmare. Diksha's voice completely changes, becoming deep and unrecognizable while she argues with her boyfriend. Then she screams, "I'm going to die," and makes a run for a canal to jump in. The next night, it's Liddy's turn, and she's just sitting alone, staring at the sky with this look of pure rage. And the creepiest part? The owner of the property swore he never heard a thing. No screaming, no commotion. It's like it was all happening in their own private little bubble of hell.
So that brings us to the climax, the absolute peak of the horror. The friends are all huddled together in one room, thinking there's safety in numbers, but what they've actually done is trap themselves inside with whatever this thing is, and it's about to focus all of its energy on Rivi.
Okay, so just try to follow this, because it all happens in a flash. Riddhi just snaps. She starts crying and makes a break for the door. Rohan, who's a 93-kilo sports teacher, tries to stop her, and she shoves him 10 meters across the room like he's nothing. She runs into the next room, locks the door. Rohan peeks through a little gap in the window and sees something straight out of a horror movie. Riddhi is sliding vertically up the inside of the wall like she's being dragged up by her hair. In a panic, he video calls his guru, who starts chanting mantras over the phone, and finally, she just drops to the floor.
The next morning, they are done. Rohan lies to his friends, tells them the bus is leaving early, anything to get them out of that house immediately. He takes them straight to a local temple to find a priest, who finally gives them an explanation for all this terror.
And the priest's explanation is chillingly simple. That place where they stopped in the forest, they stopped right next to a sacred peepal tree. And by relieving themselves there, they desecrated the home of 2 spirits. And those spirits latched onto them, specifically targeting Diksha and Riddhi with the goal of taking them away for good.
And right when they think they're finally safe on holy ground, the priest hits them with this. The spirits couldn't come inside the temple, sure, but they hadn't left. They were right outside the temple gates, just waiting, patiently, for them to come out. The danger was absolutely not over. So, the priest gives them a very precise ritual for their escape. He ties a sacred, protective thread on everyone's wrist. He tells them they have to walk to the edge of the temple grounds, say a specific line out loud to cut the connection, and then they have to walk away and not, under any circumstances, look back.
And they did it. They followed his instructions to the letter. They said the words, turned their backs on whatever was out there waiting for them, and they just walked. They got to the bus, got on, and made it all the way back to Delhi without another single incident.
So what's the big takeaway from a story like this? I mean, on the surface, yeah, it's a terrifying cautionary tale about respecting local customs and beliefs. But it's also deeper than that. It's a reminder that in many cultures, certain places in nature, like an old tree, are considered sacred. It's not just a superstition, it's a form of respect for the environment. To an outsider, it's just a tree. To the people who live there, it might be a home.
And that really leaves us with the million-dollar question, doesn't it? Was this a real paranormal encounter with vengeful spirits and physical proof like finger marks on a neck? Or could it have been a series of intense, stress-induced hallucinations fueled by fear and group psychology on a really tough trip? It's easy to write it off from a distance, but when you hear the details, the doppelganger, the impossible strength, that line between what's real and what's in your head gets terrifyingly blurry. What do you think really happened?